Kinetic energy has nearly always been the primary means of target destruction for weaponry systems. From bullets and arrows to electromagnetic railguns with a 9,800 FPS muzzle velocity, military engineers have been creating weaponry that can propel one object at extremely high speeds in order to destroy other objects. However, the balance and economic viability of conventional missile defense systems have changed as a result of novel and disruptive battlefield technologies, like low-cost drones and hypersonic missiles, and this has compelled military engineers to research a weapon that is currently in use, but is misunderstood. Lasers. This futuristic weapon is being developed, tested, and even used in combat on land, sea, and air. Everywhere lasers are being weaponized, from safeguarding commercial cargo planes to taking the place of Israel's Iron Dome system. However, this technology could save the military over $100,000 every time it fires on a target. Explain why early laser weapon systems failed, and what helped them succeed, and dispel the myth that lasers can only drop drones out of the sky. They can also keep them flying with the aid of fish. The growing significance of unmanned weapon systems is one of the main lessons from the conflict in Ukraine. The nature of warfare has entirely altered as a result of drones, both on land and in the air. They also don't cost very much. The DJI Mavic drone, which has revolutionized the Ukrainian war, is about $2,000 a unit. By adding explosives, these drones can now be used to destroy multi-million-dollar tanks at a low cost. Of course, there are already methods in place to combat these bothersome drones. Precision missile strikes are the foundation of traditional anti-air defense systems. However, firing these weapons can be highly costly. One of these systems that is the least expensive is called Mambids. They typically use Stinger missiles and only require one person to launch, but the average cost of a Stinger missile is $100,000, not to mention the more expensive systems in places where Stingers are unavailable, such as the $3 million per unit Patriot missile system. Therefore, how can armies address this disparity in cost to avoid having to shell out $3 million to shoot down a drone that costs $2,000? In order to address this issue, engineers have been working on creating radio frequency drone blasters and anti-drone nets for the past few years. However, none have been as useful as lasers in enhancing the multi-layered defense systems of armies. Enhancing a country's layered or integrated defense strategy is the primary objective of deploying laser systems. With the primary objective of deterring conventional targets, integrated defense employs layered systems of radars, ground and sea-based missile defense systems, and fighter jets. Asymmetric airborne attacks can also be countered by CRAM, artillery, and counter-rocket. More layers enable a system to respond to a wider range of threats. However, a country's multi-layered defense systems may be vulnerable to the new low, slow, and small threats like quadcopter drones. An essential consideration in layered defense systems is cost, and a potent remedy for this issue is the use of lasers. A naval CRAM unit such as this one, for instance, can fire 4,500 rounds per minute. It fires high explosive, multi-purpose tracer rounds, which run about $27 apiece. Therefore, the cost of this 3.43-second burst would be $6,978. A 250 kilowatts high-energy laser would cost less than 25 cents for the same burst. In contrast, you also get the added benefit of never having to reload. A multi-layered defense system is also more effective with lasers. They decrease the possibility of collateral damage, are more accurate, and require less logistical support. However, where are we using weaponized lasers now? Directed energy weapons are another name for laser weaponry. Archimedes is credited with using them for the first time in history in 212 BC, when he used mirrors with movable focal points to direct sunlight onto Roman ships that were invading their territory and set them on fire. During President Reagan's administration, lasers made a comeback when the Star Wars program was proposed. This plan never materialized because the technology was not yet ready to intercept Soviet intercontinental ballistic missiles using orbiting satellites equipped with lasers. Directed energy weapons have more recently been named by the US Congress as technology that could have a significant impact on US national security in the upcoming years. Over the past 10 years, the US and a few other countries, such as Germany, France, the UK, Israel, Russia, and China, have been testing these weapon systems and incorporating them into their air, sea, and land capabilities. However, how did these systems come to be what they are today? Since the energy used in early laser weapon systems comes from a chemical reaction, they are also referred to as chemical lasers. These were some of the strongest laser systems on the market, but they required a large amount of room. YAL-1 was a system like this, completely functional in 2010. It was a massive chemical laser installed atop a Boeing 747's nose that could destroy missiles with its beam. But because the system occupied the whole cargo bay of the aircraft and cost more than $2 billion, it was deemed to be impractical and unaffordable, and it was eventually discontinued in 2011. Directed infrared countermeasures, a term for smaller, less potent electric lasers were installed in some military, as well as civilian and cargo aircraft. This technique confuses an approaching missile's guidance system. Rather than destroying it outright, the missile goes off course as a result of the lasers pulsing, losing track of its target. A pod setup is needed for this procedure, and it is typically installed beneath the fuselage. Once the missile has been identified, a missile warning system tracks it, points an IR camera at a turret, and fires a laser to disrupt the missile. Thanks to technological advancements, electric lasers have become increasingly prominent today. Comparing these systems to chemical lasers, they are far more scalable and compact. Put another way, they are known as HEL, or high-energy lasers, because they can produce much more power without having to grow larger. Military contractors like Raytheon are developing these systems for use on land to defend against new and dangerous LSS targets like drones and swarms, as well as short-range aerial threats like RAMs. These modular systems have a power output of up to 50 kilowatts, which is sufficient to quickly melt drones made of polymer plastic. American Navy ships have been equipped with the Compact Laser Weapon System, or CLAWS, at sea since 2014. Although their power output is classified, it is thought to range from 50 kilowatts to several megawatts, and it is significantly more powerful than Raytheon's modular HEL. Both of these laser systems have Xbox-like controllers that make it very simple to learn how to aim, lock on, and fire at targets. The total cost of ownership for these systems will eventually drop, even though they are more than 5 times more expensive than a conventional counter-ram unit. Despite being harder to manufacture due to their higher technological sophistication, there's significantly fewer moving parts and lack of physical ammunition translate into significantly lower logistical costs and more accurate shots. Lasers, however, aren't just for eliminating drones. Additionally, they are used to train them with fish. Fish swim in schools, which are big gatherings of individuals that assemble to resemble clouds or swarms. Here, specific fish are tracked and stimulated with lasers to observe how behavioral changes in a few of them affect the group as a whole. After that, scientists track these alterations and develop artificial intelligence models based on this behavior to teach drone swarms to behave more like a pack of living things. This enables them to move through unfamiliar or new places based solely on the movements of the larger group, and without requiring a thorough understanding of the surroundings. In essence, the fish teach drones how to become more self-sufficient. However, since this research is still in its infancy, how do swarms of drones today learn to navigate on their own? 3D mapping lasers are another source of that solution. It has recently been possible to scan entire ships using 3D laser mapping. With the aid of machine learning, DARPA is training drone swarms to navigate large buildings and entire urban environments by scanning them with this same technology. We refer to this program as offset. The first step in creating a digital representation of an area is mapping it. By capturing up to 1 million images per second, these 3D lidar scanners produce an extremely accurate virtual landscape. After that, human swarm commanders create a mission plan by controlling simulated drones and viewing environments through virtual reality headsets. After that, the drones start operating by combining human guidance with AI-driven swarm tactics. The offset system exhibits sophisticated swarm behavior that is modeled after natural phenomena, including self-healing, adaptive formation flying, and group decision-making. The amount of charge a drone's battery can hold determines its operational range. Drones have the ability to navigate back to a charging station, where they can refuel and ascend to the surface to resume flight. However, drones might soon be able to recharge while in motion, and never need to stop at a charging station, thanks to lasers. A laser beaming light onto a photovoltaic receiver tuned to the laser wavelengths is known as power beaming. When these receivers are exposed to laser light instead of sunlight, their efficiency increases by 1.5 to 2.5 times. Since 2017, engineers at the US Naval Research Laboratory have been conducting tests with this technology. Originally, this project used optical cables to transmit energy to underwater drones. However, it quickly changed to allow for open-air power transfers. More than 400 watts of power could be delivered indoors by the system to a receiver more than a mile away. This might not seem like much, but it demonstrated the system's scalability and safety. Finally, using a receiver that was lightweight and small enough to be mounted on a roof, they were able to conduct an outdoor test. This is a revolutionary way to transfer energy without moving mass. For example, because conventional wiring and fuel transfer mechanisms would become outdated, it would require less infrastructure to set up forward operations bases. Power beaming enables the transfer of power to previously unreachable areas and is silent, invisible, and portable. These characteristics make it perfect for use in military settings. But from where would this immense power originate? The primary drawback of this technology is line of sight because light travels in a straight line. What if, however, we could beam power anywhere on Earth? And that posed no longer of an issue. This is precisely what the Space Solar Power Incremental Demonstrations and Research Project, or SPIDER, a new project from the Air Force Research Laboratory, could accomplish from orbit. The goal of this project is to gather solar energy using satellites and direct it towards earthly recipients. This might further do away with the requirement for power infrastructure, rendering fuel convoys and portable power generators unnecessary. The icing on the cake is that this technology may also be applied to global civilian infrastructure projects. However, what occurs if the beam strikes the incorrect spot? You can guess as well as I can, though.